and ask you, how is technology helping us live in a more sustainable way? For example, Climeworks, if I'm not wrong, is using tech to pull CO2 out of the air. So how is tech these days helping us?
People recognize the importance of changing face of a global climate, and it's having impact on economics, human development, environment, and social development. So now you mentioned about Climeworks. It's a wonderful tool from Switzerland. Mm-hmm. They capture the carbon from the air through modular devices and pump this carbon dioxide.
What are some technologies, maybe like AI or IoT or blockchain, that's actually helping the planet?
AI is a great enabler for energy savings. Internet of Things helps for waste to value. So you mentioned about Takachar. Takachar is a great combination between Kenya and India, collaborations. They take the agricultural waste and turn it into fertilizers and biofuels. So,
hello and welcome back to The Green Generation. I am Dr.R.Seetharaman, an entrepreneur, a content creator, and a sustainability advocate, and also your host for today. So today we're talking about how technology and startups can help build a sustainable future. And I don't just mean in theory, I mean in more real, tangible ways. So joining us today for the talk is Dr.R.Seetharaman, who is a former CEO of Doha Bank, who's practiced green banking during his tenure and is also a sustainability advocate. So I'm going to dive right into the big picture and ask you, how is technology helping us live in a more sustainable way? For example, Climeworks, if I'm not wrong, is using tech to pull CO2 out of the air. So how is tech these days helping us?
Oh, it's an extraordinary regeneration in terms of the change management, I should say. People recognize the importance of changing face of a global climate, and it's having impact on economics, human development, environment, and social development. So now you mentioned about Climeworks. It's a wonderful tool from Switzerland. Mm-hmm. They capture the carbon from the air through modular devices and pump this carbon dioxide under the ground. It's an amazing creations. Imagine the impact. Air pollution is avoided and good quality living. And this is a classic case. So science is playing a big role, and startups are mushrooming towards greater prosperity for human welfare. And climate change is a major stumbling block for overall human prosperity. Technology comes very handy to fix this.
And since you're talking about startups, do you think startups have an edge over bigger companies in the way that they can make change happen because they're starting fresh?
Absolutely, because less bureaucratic, and they have something to prove, and they have energy and enthusiasm to demonstrate that they have an innovation within themselves. So again, policies or procedures or process are all simplified in today's context, and startups are great enablers for this changeover.
So talking about startups and tech, what are some technologies, maybe like AI or IoT or blockchain, that's actually helping the planet? For example, I read about Takachar using small machines to turn crop waste into fuel.
Yeah. AI is a great enabler for energy savings. Internet of Things helps for waste to value. If you look at biotech, they are great enablers for food industry, agro reforms. So whether it is artificial intelligence or IoT, Internet of Things, or blockchain, they're all adding value. The new generation technologies are great enablers. You mentioned about Takachar. Takachar is a great combination between Kenya and India, collaborations. They take the agricultural waste and turn it into fertilizers and biofuels. So it's an amazing opportunity.
And how has the idea of a green startup changed over the last few years?
It's a huge transformation. This is exponential in substance. If you look at the climate commitment world over, right from COP21 in 2015 to COP30 in Azerbaijan last year. Now, the compliance architecture has been framed. Policies have been promulgated by national governments. International alignment has to manifest every year their compliance. So it's a beautiful journey. Startups are great enablers for fixing this, whether it is water management or waste management, pollution controls. Green technologies plays a big role. And again, in a circular economy, waste to value is going to be a major opportunity for us to seize this.
Okay. And now that we're talking about change, we obviously have to talk about trends, because I think every day there's something new that's coming that's trending or that's more currently used.
Absolutely.
Are investors now more excited about funding sustainable ideas as compared to how they were before because of all of the change?
Huge consciousness. See, globally, the market value of any script listed enterprises is valued based on commitment to society. The stakeholders' value in substance, not only shareholders, stakeholders. If that's the case, now market degeneration, if you're not committing to the social costs, social risk management is equally important for corporate management, and they come very, very meaningful when it comes to commitment to society. So I see a drastic change in the last 3-4 years because people are conscious of quality living.
Okay, and now talking about customers, are they actually ready to choose more sustainable, more eco-friendly options, even if they're more expensive? Because we realize that that's currently how it is.
That's a myth. In substance, it's a myth. It is not meant for rich, sustainability. It is not expensive. If you understand, you capture the nature, you synchronize with the nature. Now, initial, yes, the scale has to support your systems in terms of cost efficiency. That's for any business, right? So long-term opportunity is what we should aim at it. And the customers are recognizing the importance of it. Business community is recognizing the importance of it. And there are models which are evolving to prove a long-term value. And that's why these companies are priced, in exponential terms. Suddenly, many, many unicorns in terms of green techs are mushrooming.
Yeah, but the question is, if it is more expensive. For example, in my opinion, everything that's vegan in terms of food is slightly more expensive than regular food. I think there's a lot of, cosmetics, if you ask me about skincare or makeup, that is generally the cruelty-free brands, the vegan brands, the more sustainable brands based on their packaging. If they're reusable packaging, then they're slightly cost-effective, but they are more expensive. And what I see in this area of it, when it comes to cosmetics and food, people are ready to spend the money.
Yeah.
But are people also ready to spend the money on other kind of on startups, on tech?
Yeah.
Is that the question?
Absolutely.
That is not. That is the question.
No, it's a change in face of the world. The transition is very much visibly showcased around the world. And any transition takes its own cost incidental. It's investments at this point. The scale, as I said, it's going to be efficient. Most of the people are now shifting towards sustainability. In every policy framework around the world, the purpose of living, it becomes now sustainable development. So every industry is conscious of this, then you have a better world. And the road is very much there, especially younger generations like yours. You're conscious, you want to be health conscious, you want what you apply in terms of cosmetics, you want to be conscious. What you intake, you want to be conscious because you want long-term prosperity. You don't want to fall sick. So this is a change in face of the world, and this is a change in face of the humanity, and we have to recognize this importance. Youngsters, more than any other segment, is recognizing this and adopting it.
I mean, now that we're talked about customers and companies, the question is also the climate change rules. Has it actually made it harder for companies? Of course, they're ready to adapt because everyone's conscious, like you mentioned, but has it actually made it harder or simpler for them?
It is a bumpy road to start with, right? So essentially it's going to be seamless in the coming days because everyone is recognizing the intricacy behind it. But it's very simple. Synchronize your life with nature. That's a better way of living. Your happiness is guaranteed. Your sustainable value creation is guaranteed. So it is a question of, making sure the interacting personalities recognize this is an opportunity than a challenge.
Okay, and now talking about industries, which industries do you see making the fastest moves towards tech-based sustainability? For example, Zero Circle is shaking up packaging with the FMCG space.
Absolutely.
In seaweed films.
Zero Circle is a classic example you mentioned as such. It is a seaweed turning into compostable, right? And it's going to reduce the plastic. Single use of plastic is a major issue. So if you're going to use circular economy principles, the waste can be regenerated into values. That's the mission. So you create value from the waste. Water contamination is clear. Sea pollution is clear. Air pollution is clear. Now we have to change this through circular economy principle. This is a classic example, and it's working well. That's a good example. Zero circle, as they say. Yeah.
But is that the industry that's moving fastest towards sustainability or tech-based sustainability? Is
Absolutely.
there a particular industry that's moving faster, maybe?
No, if you specifically ask me which are the industries, now we are seeing the changes in the agricultural norms. A lot of opportunities to redefine food security, more healthy outcomes. We are seeing that's through biotech is shaping up. We are seeing energy savings, solar everywhere.
Yeah.
It's a huge opportunity. Why we are not recognizing it's a nature's gift? It's cost effective. The more players are jumping into it, the world will become more enjoyable. Look at these solar batteries. You need power backup. Now solar, great enabler. So that's what I'm saying. Every energy saving through AI, Internet of Things through biotechs or waste management, you have plenty of opportunity to relish.
And now that we've seen mostly the positive sides of adopting a more sustainable future, for companies to be more sustainable, of course, I think it comes with challenges because we're still adapting and adopting. So talking about challenges, when it comes to startups, what would you say is some of the most, the hardest difficulties when it comes to making sure that the company is not just sustainable, but also profitable?
Think long term. Don't aim at short term hit and run story. It doesn't work. It will not work as a person. It will not work as a professional. It will not work in business. The aim is to create long-term value. And that is possible.
Okay.
And in every form of life. And startups have to recognize this. No, I just want to become a unicorn overnight. You're not going to do it. There are tests, commitments, hard work, determination, drive, principle-centered values, innovation. All these things are integral part of the overall characteristics of a startup. So you have to be ready for it.
Okay. And now an important question is that, can tech actually help solve the cost and supply chain issues in a sustainable business? For example, I see that Lanza Tech turns waste gas into jet fuel.
That's an amazing example. It's an American company, Lanza Tech. They use the microbes. What they do is they use it as a jet fuels. They don't, they capture the carbon and use this in multiple ways. So that's a classic story. So more and more carbon capture industries are shaping up because if you have to create a carbon neutral society, there are many ways of doing it. So this is an opportunity where directly you can capture this. That's the best you can create.
Talking about greenwashing.
Yeah.
So a lot of brands also do greenwash, which is part of the challenge.
Yeah.
So how can we tell between who's real and who's not?
That's a difficult question, isn't it? See, people want a show and they propagate their commercial objectives by disguising in the name of green business. But there are regulations, there are frameworks which needs to be complied in total, whether it is carbon trading or technology. You have to have measurement mechanism. You have to have periodic disclosures and making sure regulatory framework align this individually, collectively. We have to necessarily global governance has to frame up. Now, we have Basel, for example. Basel has come out with the disclosure principles for banking institutions. So because banking is always global, it transcends borders. So essentially, universal frameworks are evolving, and it's going to be a fine combination to make sure everything is fixed.
Okay. So do you have one startup that you'd like to talk about or share about that you admire that's doing sustainability the right way?
There are many. One startup, Patagonia, the classic examples. They are committed to take the used clothes and recycling it. They are committed to put their entire profit initially to public cause. No profit will be taken for the shareholders. That's a committed mission. For me, social responsibility comes first as a global citizen. So this is a classic story I can call. So there are many, many such case studies. You talked about Zero Circle, you talked about Takachar, you talked about again. So in fact, there is a rare earth materials are being sourced and they are using for electronic vehicles. Now today, you don't need rare earth for many inventions, but there are other substitutes in there. So quite a few inventions are going to be, electronic vehicle is going to be the major opportunity, right? We are seeing the success of Tesla.
Yeah.
So that's the classic story. There are many, many such stories evolving. And I'm an AA agent. AA agent now, you can keep it as an assistant to support your system as well. So technology is evolving as a fine combinations. There are many opportunities in the coming days we have to grab as we see.
Yeah, like you said, AI assistants like chatbots. I think every website, every company now has that as your virtual assistant. Leading companies, they no longer, for example, Etisalat no longer has customer service like personnel anymore.
Yeah.
They tell you that. They said, listen, you got to contact AI. So we're moving back into the positive aspects. We've talked about challenges, but of course, it's also time to talk about, opportunities. So what do you think are one of the biggest opportunities for startups in the sustainable space right now?
Very many. As I said, solar is a great enabler. It's going to be a major source of energy supplement, and it's picking up. It's becoming cheaper and cheaper, and it is in technical terms, energy is not created; it's only circulated, right? Kinetic. So in substance, this is going to be a bigger opportunity to converge on solar and make the most out of it. It's nature's gift. Embrace it.
In fact, we're using a lot of solar panels at home in Chennai in our house for water, for electricity, both of it.
Yeah.
And I think it's like you said, I think solar, the whole network is like one of the biggest opportunities. I agree.
Absolutely.
How important would you say collaborations are, for example, with governments, big companies, maybe NGOs?
It is vital, because how can you do solar? You need solar grids. You have to, again, pass it on to the government. NGOs plays a big role. The public-private partnership is the key. You have to work with the local regulators. You have to work with the local government. So solar cannot be detached other than being a public-private partnership model. So even if you produce it and then package it, you have to also have solar batteries you have to create. You have to store it.
Yeah.
There are clear opportunities for solar batteries also. Battery is going to be a major business opportunity. So meanwhile, public-private partnership is the name of the game.
Now that we've talked about opportunities, I think it's also important to factor in the mindset at which we want to develop opportunities, right? So for an entrepreneur, for a startup, for a tech startup, sustainable startup, what do you think is the right mindset that they should be walking into it with?
Now we have principle-centered values, committed to social responsibility, think long-term, ready to face the competition through collaborations. Multiple innovations required time and again. You need financial commitments by engaging in visionary leadership around the world, or ready to offer support innovators. Again, making sure you have endorsement from the global institutions who are engaging in promoting such value-driven systems or business. So it's a collaboration end of the day again. So opportunities are endless.
So now that there are so many opportunities and you've spoken about the mindset, we realize that everyone's moving in really fast at wanting to be in this space, right? Because sustainability is now becoming more and more prevalent. People are becoming more aware. But how do you think people should find the balance between moving fast, like quick to act, but also make sure that they're being responsible without any of the greenwashing, any of the errors that maybe they should keep in mind?
That's the principle-centered governance, isn't it? Profit with purpose. That's the motive. Long-term is a motive. Ensuring proper policies, procedures, process are well-knitted. Technology is well-structured. And making sure you're interconnecting systems along with the technology. You're modernizing it and keep updating it. Regulatory compliance. You cannot do anything which is non-compliant. There's no short-term win here. You have to go by the framework and you have to be part of the society. So it's a win-win model.
And I think this sort of answers my next question, but what leadership trait do you think matters the most when you're building something impactful? I think you're going to say something around principle-centered values. I think so, but which you've spoken a little bit about.
Transparency. Life is all about trust and transparency, isn't it? So there's nothing to be hidden. If your innovation is going to have a long-term opportunity for you and society, you have to talk to the regulators. You have to talk to the local authorities. You have to share it with the shareholders. You have to share it with the employees that this is a long-term game. There is a commitment, there is hard work, there is perspiration, there is a determination, there is a long-term return, and we are all going to win together. And that's the focus.
Interesting. And I think also extremely motivating and very positive. But talking about that, if we're diving into maybe the next 5 years or the future for sustainability tech startups, what tech or which tech right now do you think feels like it could be the biggest environmental impact in the next 5 years? Not today, but in the next 5 years.
Well, the value-driven technology, if you look at it, AI is creating a transformation into the new models. Now, it is embrace AI as integral part of your every walk of life. So if you're in green manufacturing, engage full-scale AI and use machine learning. If you're in logistics, use a blockchain technology. If you're in food industry, go for biotech. And again, if it is packaging, go for sources which are AI enabled, and again biotech. So converting the waste into values, as I said earlier, is an opportunity. While regenerating values, you have to have a tremendous amount of commitment towards technology. Otherwise, the convergence, if it's not there, the values are not there.
Right. And right now, as much as we did talk about the opportunities, about how so many startups are making the shift with the help of tech, all of that, but I don't think it's still a mandatory requirement, right, for you to be a startup or a company or an entrepreneur that has to be sustainable. But do you see that becoming a mandatory practice for all startups or new companies, or do you think it's just a nice to have ethos that's part of?
Not anymore. It's not. It's a mainstream business principles now. It is not. Part of your objective is sustainability. It is the objective. So if you are not having sustainable value chain creation, then you are not there in business. Simple. Don't start without sustainability.
So you think it's almost unsaid mandatory now, and it will be very clearly mandatory.
If you want to be successful, if you want to experiment, you want to go in your way, you can do. The universal framework now is coming to terms. There's no choice than to be sustainable.
Yeah. So in the near future, that's your only option out, which isn't a bad thing, honestly. We talked about how there are so many opportunities in this space, so I'm sure people can create or work with those opportunities. But what's the one tip before we sign off that you'd like to give to someone who wants to start a tech-based green startup?
One tip. Converge with the new world order. converge with sustainability, converge with the new generation technology, whether it's AI or Internet of Things, or machine learning, or blockchain, which will be the model which will seamlessly connect with you. Work on it. Without technology convergence, you don't have any way forward. So it is the convergence which is going to make the value chain moving up. That's the only mission.
Thank you so much for me, I think a very enriching conversation as an entrepreneur. But I hope this has helped you if you were looking forward to understanding tech and startups, but are also looking to start a business, looking at sustainability, understanding it, and how tech can actually help you live a more sustainable life.
Absolutely.
And how tech is not disruption anymore, it's actually advantageous, and how we can use it to our advantage. And if you love this episode, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube at Seetharaman School of Sustainability Development, and we will see you in the next one.